I am Moses, a 35-year-old business owner who never imagined the path my life would take. 10 years ago, my parents kicked me out of their home because I refused to become a doctor. They had my entire life planned out, but I chose to follow my passion for technology instead. That decision cost me my family, but it led me to build something greater than I could have imagined. Today, in a twist of fate that still feels surreal, I own the very house my parents once threw me out of. As I share how I went from sleeping in my car to owning my parents' home, let me know where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to choose between your dreams and someone else's expectations for you. Growing up in a strict, traditional household in a Boston suburb shaped every aspect of my childhood. My father Thomas and mother Diana were first-generation Americans who worked tirelessly to provide our family with comfort and status. Dad was a hospital administrator who had once dreamed of being a surgeon, and Mom taught mathematics at the local high school. Our modest but well-maintained colonial-style home represented everything they had sacrificed for. We came to this country with nothing but dreams, my father would remind me at least once a week during dinner. Everything we have built is for you to have opportunities we never had. From my earliest memories, those opportunities had one clear destination: medical school. There was never a question about my future career path. When other parents asked their children what they wanted to be when they grew up, mine already had the answer: doctor. Not just any doctor, but a cardiothoracic surgeon practicing at Massachusetts General Hospital, where my father had connections. My bedroom walls were decorated with human anatomy charts instead of sports posters. My childhood bookshelf held medical encyclopedias alongside Harry Potter. Every academic achievement was celebrated as another step toward the prestigious white coat that would one day hang in my closet. Your cousins would kill for the opportunities you have, my mother would say, whenever I showed the slightest hesitation about my predetermined path. Our family gatherings were competitions where relatives compared their children's accomplishments, and my parents prided themselves on my straight-A report cards and academic awards. The pressure intensified during high school. While other teenagers worried about prom dates, I was being enrolled in summer medical internship programs and advanced biology courses. My parents spared no expense for science, tutors, and college admission consultants. Even my social life was carefully orchestrated. My parents encouraged friendships with the children of other doctors and professionals, particularly Linda, the daughter of their close friends. It wasn't subtle how they hoped these childhood playdates would blossom into an appropriate marriage someday. Linda is going to Yale pre-med, my mother would mention casually at dinner. You two would have so much in common when you both become doctors. I tried. God knows I tried to be the son they wanted. I studied until midnight, most nights memorizing cellular structures and chemical compounds that never quite clicked in my brain the way they were supposed to. My grades were excellent, but they came at the cost of constant anxiety and genuine interest. During my sophomore year of college, something unexpected happened. While struggling through organic chemistry, I discovered computer programming through a general education requirement. The logic of coding made immediate sense to me in a way medicine never had. I found myself staying up late, not because I had to, but because I wanted to finish building a small program I was working on. By junior year, I had secretly changed my schedule to add more computer science classes while maintaining the facade of pre-med. I would tell my parents about fictitious biology labs while actually attending programming workshops. The guilt was tremendous, but for the first time in my life, I was studying something that energized rather than drained me. During spring break of my junior year, while my parents thought I was at a medical conference, I was actually participating in a hackathon where I built a simple app that helped users track medication schedules. To my shock, the app won third place and attracted attention from several local tech entrepreneurs. One of them, Jackson Williams, took me to coffee afterward. "This is impressive work," Jackson said, reviewing my code, "especially for someone with no formal training. Have you considered a career in health tech? There is huge potential to improve medical care through better software." That conversation changed everything. Jackson became my mentor, showing me how my interest in technology could still connect to healthcare, just not in the way my parents envisioned. Under his guidance, I continued developing my medication tracking app, adding features, and building a small user base. By senior year, the app was generating a modest income of about $300 monthly from premium subscriptions. It wasn't much, but it represented something powerful, proof that I could create value through my own ideas. The reckoning with my parents couldn't be postponed any longer. 3 months before graduation, with medical school applications looming, I finally gathered the courage to tell them the truth during Sunday dinner. "I have something important to tell you," I began, my voice shaking. "I am not applying to medical school. I have decided to pursue a career in health technology instead." The silence that followed was deafening. My father's fork clattered against his plate. My mother's hand froze midway to her glass of water. "This is a joke," my father finally said, his voice dangerously quiet. "After everything we have done, everything we have sacrificed." "It is not a joke," I replied, my heart pounding. "I have been developing an app that helps people manage their medications. It already has users and generates revenue. I have a mentor who believes in my potential." What followed was the most painful conversation of my life. My parents cycled through disbelief, anger, and emotional manipulation. They called me selfish, ungrateful, foolish. They enumerated every sacrifice they had made, every opportunity they had provided. "Do you know how many strings I pulled to get you that summer internship?" my father shouted. "Do you think medical school spots grow on trees? We immigrated to this country so you could have this chance," my mother cried. "Our parents could never have dreamed of such opportunities." The argument escalated until my father delivered the ultimatum. "Either you continue with the plan we have laid out, or you are on your own. Completely on your own." I looked at the strangers my parents had become in their anger and made the hardest decision of my life. "Then I will be on my own. You have 1 hour to pack your essentials," my father responded coldly. "Anything you leave behind belongs to us now." The memory of that night still makes my stomach tighten. I packed whatever would fit in my Honda Civic: some clothes, my laptop, important documents, and a photograph of my grandmother, who had always believed in me. My mother stood in the doorway of my bedroom, silent tears streaming down her face, making no move to intervene as my father supervised my hasty packing. "You are throwing away everything we have worked for," he said, checking his watch impatiently. "When you fail, and you will fail, do not come crawling back expecting our help." The final blow came as I reached the front door. My mother, who had barely spoken, finally found her voice. "You are killing our dreams, Moses. How can you be so selfish?" I had no answer that would satisfy them. As the door closed behind me, I sat in my car for nearly an hour, too stunned to drive, too proud to go back inside and surrender my dreams. At 25 years old, with a college degree but no job and no home, I drove away from everything familiar into a terrifying unknown. The first 2 weeks were a blur of panic and improvisation. My car became my bedroom, parked in different Walmart parking lots each night for safety. I showered at a 24-hour gym where I purchased the cheapest membership during the day. I would work from coffee shops, nursing a single cup for hours while using their Wi-Fi to look for jobs, and continue working on my app. My small savings account, which had seemed substantial while living at home, evaporated quickly. Gas, food, gym membership, coffee shop purchases, and basic necessities devoured nearly $80 daily. I applied for coding jobs during the day and drove for a rideshare company at night, sleeping only 4 hours between shifts. The emotional isolation was as difficult as the physical hardship. When I reached out to extended family members, I discovered my parents had already shared their version of events. Aunts and uncles, who had once doted on me, now sent terse messages suggesting I apologize and return to the path my parents had chosen. Only my cousin Marcus offered sympathy, but he was in California and could offer little practical help. By the third week, desperation led me to contact my old college roommate, Zach. Though we had drifted apart after graduation, he responded immediately to my carefully worded message. "Dude, that is messed up," he said, when I finally explained my situation over coffee. "You can crash on my couch until you figure something out." Zach's generosity saved me from homelessness, but his small apartment shared with two other guys offered little privacy or stability. Still, it was a roof, a shower, and Wi-Fi that did not require purchasing coffee. From his living room couch, I intensified my job search and continued developing my app. A month later, I landed my first freelance coding job building a website for a local restaurant. The pay was modest, but it allowed me to contribute to Zach's household expenses and start saving for my own place. Two more small projects followed, and by month 3, I had enough for a security deposit on the smallest, most basic studio apartment in a less desirable neighborhood. My new home was barely 400 square feet, with a kitchenette bathroom and main room that served as bedroom, living room, and office. The building had security issues, unreliable heating, and neighbors whose domestic disputes frequently erupted at 2 in the morning. But it was mine, paid for, with money I had earned, doing work I loved. With a stable address, I could establish a proper business entity for my app development. I named it HealthSync Technologies, opened a business bank account with my last $300, and created professional business cards at the local print shop. By day, I took on freelance coding projects to pay rent. By night, I refined my medication tracking app, adding features that users requested and fixing bugs. The schedule was punishing. I regularly worked 16-hour days, subsisting on ramen noodles and coffee. My apartment contained only a futon, a desk I had assembled from parts found on Craigslist, and a folding chair. My social life was non-existent. The isolation led to periods of depression that were difficult to fight through alone. Holidays were particularly painful. That first Thanksgiving, I ate a microwave turkey dinner while scrolling through social media photos of family gatherings. Christmas brought a short text from my mother, "Merry Christmas. The door is open when you are ready to apologize." I did not respond, unsure what to say that would not make things worse. In January, I discovered a support group for adult children estranged from their parents. The stories shared there helped me understand that my experience, while painful, was not unique. Many others had faced similar ultimatums when their authentic selves did not match parental expectations. Through this group, I found both emotional support and practical advice for building a life without family backing. 1 year after being kicked out, my circumstances had marginally improved. I had consistent freelance work, a slightly better apartment, and my app had nearly 5,000 users, though monetization remained challenging. I had survived, but survival alone felt hollow. The vision Jackson had helped me see of creating technology that genuinely improved healthcare seemed increasingly distant. Then came the lowest point. A potential investor had expressed interest in HealthSync, scheduling a meeting to discuss possible funding. I spent weeks preparing, creating detailed business plans, and polishing my presentation. The morning of the meeting, the investor canceled without explanation. That same afternoon, I received an invitation to a former classmate's white coat ceremony as he began medical school. The contrast between his celebrated achievement and my struggling venture crushed what remaining confidence I had. That night, I seriously considered giving up, calling my parents, and accepting their terms. I even drafted an email apologizing for my mistake and asking for their guidance on late medical school applications. My finger hovered over the send button for nearly an hour before I deleted the draft. Instead, I sent an email to Jackson, my mentor, whom I had not contacted in months. out of embarrassment over my lack of progress. His response came within minutes. Every entrepreneur faces the valley of despair. The ones who succeed are those who keep walking. Let us meet tomorrow. The meeting with Jackson marked the turning point in both my professional and personal journey. He listened patiently to my struggles, reviewed my app's progress, and then delivered unexpected news. "I have been following your work from a distance," he said. "You have built something with real potential despite extraordinary obstacles. My angel investment group is looking for health tech startups, and I want to pitch yours." 3 weeks later, I received $150,000 in seed funding in exchange for 15% equity in HealthSync Technologies. The investment allowed me to hire a part-time developer and a marketing consultant, rent a small office space, and focus fully on growing the company. With professional guidance, we pivoted the app's focus slightly. Rather than just medication tracking for individuals, we expanded to create a platform connecting patients, caregivers, and healthcare providers. This broader vision attracted attention from several local medical practices looking for better patient engagement tools. 6 months after the investment, we signed our first major client, a network of 5 urgent care centers, for a contract worth $200,000. The validation from this client opened doors to meetings with larger healthcare organizations. By the end of that year, HealthSync had 7 employees, including developers, a user experience designer, and a healthcare compliance specialist. As the business grew, I was able to move to a proper 1-bedroom apartment in a safer neighborhood. For the first time since leaving my parents' home, I purchased real furniture, cookware, and small luxuries like a good coffee machine. I began to see a therapist, regularly working through the complex emotions surrounding my family estrangement. "What you experienced was conditional love," my therapist explained during one particularly insightful session. "Your value to your parents was tied to fulfilling their expectations. That is a heavy burden no child should carry." These sessions helped me recognize patterns in how I approached work and relationships. I had internalized the belief that my worth was tied to achievement, leading to unsustainable work habits and difficulty accepting help from others. Addressing these patterns was as important to my success as any business strategy. As HealthSync continued to grow, I built not just a company, but a new kind of family. Our team celebrated milestones together, supported each other through challenges, and created a culture where authenticity was valued over conformity. My friendship circle expanded to include other entrepreneurs who understood the unique pressures of building something from nothing. 3 years after being kicked out, HealthSync Technologies was valued at $4 million. We had 20 employees' offices in 2 cities and contracts with healthcare providers across New England. The medication management platform had evolved into a comprehensive patient engagement system used by over 50,000 patients. I had not spoken to my parents during this time, though I occasionally heard updates through mutual connections. My success was known in our community, but pride prevented either side from reaching out. I had made peace with this reality, focusing on building my future rather than repairing the past. Then came the news that changed everything. Marcus, my cousin in California, called one evening with information he thought I should know. "Your parents are losing their house, Moses," he said hesitantly. "Uncle Thomas made some bad investments, and then he had that heart surgery with complications. The medical bills wiped out their savings, and they have been unable to make mortgage payments for months. The bank is foreclosing next month." The news hit me like a physical blow. Despite everything, I had never wished hardship on my parents. The image of them losing the home they had worked so hard for, the house I had grown up in, created a conflict I had not anticipated. "Have they asked for help?" I inquired already, knowing the answer. "You know, they would never admit they need assistance," Marcus replied. "Their pride would not allow it, especially not from you. They do not even know I am calling you." After that call, I could think of nothing else. I researched the foreclosure process, confirmed the details through public records, and consulted with my financial advisors. The decision I ultimately made surprised everyone, including myself. Through a shell company that could not be traced back to me, I purchased my parents' foreclosed home at auction. Additionally, I bought the vacant commercial building down the street, announcing plans to open a new HealthSync office in the neighborhood. These moves were justified to my board as strategic expansions, but they served a more personal purpose. The day after completing the purchase, I drove to the house where I had grown up, the home I now legally owned. Standing on the porch where I had played as a child, I rang the doorbell, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. My mother opened the door, aged noticeably since I had last seen her. The recognition in her eyes quickly turned to confusion, then shock. "Moses," she whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "What are you doing here?" "I heard about the foreclosure," I said simply. "We need to talk." My father appeared behind her, thinner and grayer than in my memories. His face hardened at the sight of me. "Have you come to gloat?" he asked bitterly. To see us at our lowest, I took a deep breath, remembering my therapist's advice about maintaining boundaries while showing compassion. "No," I replied calmly. "I have come because I am the new owner of this house." The silence that followed my announcement was profound. My parents stood frozen in the doorway, processing information that seemed impossible to them. The foreclosure notices, the auction, the mysterious buyer, and now their estranged son standing before them, claiming ownership of their home. It was too much to comprehend at once. "This is some kind of cruel joke," my father finally said, his voice breaking with emotion he rarely displayed. "How could you possibly afford to buy this house? The company I founded after you kicked me out has been quite successful." I explained, keeping my voice steady despite the storm of emotions. HealthSync Technologies now employs over 50 people and provides patient engagement software to healthcare systems across 3 states. I watched as the reality sank in, as they calculated the value of the success they had dismissed as impossible. My mother gripped the doorframe for support, while my father's expression cycled through disbelief, shock, and something that looked almost like remorse. "May I come in?" I asked. This conversation should not happen on the porch. They reluctantly stepped aside, allowing me to enter the home I had not seen in years. Little had changed in the formal living room, where we sat awkwardly, the furniture, the same, though now showing signs of wear. Family photos still lined the mantel, but I noticed my college graduation picture was prominently displayed, a detail that caught me off guard. "Why are you here, Moses?" my mother finally asked. "Is it to evict us? To have your revenge?" I shook my head. "I did not buy this house for revenge. I bought it because despite everything that happened between us, I did not want to see you lose your home." I explained the terms I was offering. They could continue living in the house with a reasonable rent agreement that accounted for their reduced circumstances. I would handle needed repairs and maintenance. If they preferred, I would help them find a smaller, more manageable property. Either way, I would ensure they were not homeless. "Why would you help us?" "After how we treated you," my father asked, his pride clearly wounded, but his practical nature recognizing the lifeline I was extending. "Because the success you thought I could not achieve has taught me important lessons," I answered honestly. "One of them is that helping others, when you have the means to do so, is the right thing to do, regardless of past hurts." That first conversation was tense and brief. They agreed to consider my offer, and I left my business card with contact information before departing. It was a small step, but more than I had thought possible just days before. 2 weeks passed before my mother called. They would accept the arrangement to stay in the house. The conversation was stilted, formal, but it was communication, the first in years. We arranged to meet with a lawyer to formalize the agreement, maintaining the professional distance that felt safest for all of us. Healing came slowly, in small, cautious steps. At first, our interactions were limited to practical matters regarding the house. My father would call about a leaking faucet or electrical issue, conversations that never strayed into personal territory. My mother would leave thank you notes for repairs, completed her familiar handwriting, stirring complicated emotions. The first real breakthrough came 3 months after our initial reunion. I had established a small satellite office for HealthSync in the commercial building I had purchased near their home. One afternoon, my father appeared in the reception area, asking if he might see what I had built. I gave him a tour of the modest office, where 5 employees worked on software development and customer support. As I demonstrated our patient engagement platform, I saw his expression change from skeptical politeness to genuine interest. This actually solves real problems for medical practices, he acknowledged, watching a demonstration of how our system tracked medication adherence and simplified patient communication. The hospital where I worked could have used something like this. His subtle shift from dismissal to recognition meant more than any investment or client contract had. It was the first time he had acknowledged the value of the path I had chosen. My mother's softening came differently. She began leaving containers of homemade food at the office, at first without notes or explanation. Later, she began including recipes, then short messages about family news. Eventually, she asked if she might come to the office occasionally to help with administrative tasks, an offer that seemed to be more about rebuilding connection than actual employment. The most difficult conversations were inevitable, but necessary for real healing. 6 months after buying their house, I suggested family therapy. To my surprise, they agreed, though my father called it family business discussions to make it more palatable to his pride. In those sessions, painful truths emerged. My parents spoke of their fears, how they had equated professional status with security based on their immigrant experiences. I shared how their conditional love had created lasting wounds in my ability to trust and form relationships. We argued, cried, and slowly began to understand one another as adults rather than through the rigid roles of our past. I was wrong, my father admitted during our 4th session, words I had never expected to hear from him. Not about wanting security for you, but about how to achieve it. You have built something remarkable by following your own path. My mother's acknowledgement came more emotionally. I was so afraid for you, she confessed, tears streaming down her face. The world seemed so dangerous, and medicine seemed so safe. I never considered that forcing you into the wrong life was its own kind of danger. These were not complete transformations, not fairy tale reconciliations that erased years of hurt in an instant. They were the beginning of a new, more honest relationship built on acceptance rather than expectations. As HealthSync continued to grow, expanding to over 70 employees and opening offices in 3 states, my parents gradually became part of my life again. My father, with his extensive healthcare administrative experience, occasionally provided valuable insights into hospital operations that improved our product. My mother helped organize company cultural events, bringing her talent for creating community to our growing team. 4 years after buying their house, I met Natalie, a hospital administrator who was implementing our software at her facility. Our professional relationship evolved into friendship, then romance. Unlike previous relationships that had faltered under the weight of my work commitments and unresolved family issues, this one flourished. Natalie understood both the healthcare world and the entrepreneurial drive that motivated me. When I brought her to meet my parents for the first time, I witnessed another kind of healing. My mother, who had once been so fixated on my marrying Linda, the doctor's daughter, embraced Natalie warmly. My father engaged her in genuine conversation about healthcare administration, respecting her expertise without judgment. 5 years after being kicked out of my parents' home, I established the HealthSync Foundation, which provides scholarships and mentoring for young entrepreneurs from controlling family backgrounds. The foundation was my way of transforming painful experience into opportunity for others facing similar challenges. My parents, in a gesture that symbolized how far we had come, made the first donation. Today, 10 years after that painful night, when I drove away with only what could fit in my car, I lead a company valued at over $30 million. The medication tracking app that began as a simple tool has evolved into an integrated healthcare communication platform used by hospitals and clinics nationwide. The technology I was told was a foolish distraction now helps thousands of patients manage their health more effectively. The greatest value in my journey has not been financial success or professional recognition, though both have come. It has been the freedom to define success on my own terms, to build a life aligned with my authentic self rather than someone else's blueprint. I still own my parents' house, though our relationship has evolved to the point where they insist on paying market-rate rent, a matter of restored pride, rather than financial necessity. We have Sunday dinner together, monthly conversations that now include business updates alongside family news. The painful past is not forgotten, but it no longer defines our relationship. If my story resonates with you, remember that the hardest paths often lead to the most meaningful destinations. True success comes not from living up to others' expectations, but from having the courage to follow your authentic calling, even when doing so seems impossible. Breaking cycles of conditional love requires tremendous courage, but the freedom it brings is worth every difficult step. Have you ever had to choose between someone else's expectations and your own dreams? What gave you the strength to make that choice? Share your story in the comments below. If this journey of reconciliation and finding success on my own terms has inspired you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories of overcoming family challenges. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to live the life others have chosen for you.